Wow, it is the 29th of December, 2022, and this is the last Calvary Briefing of this year. Thanks for watching the briefing this past year. Thank you for supporting it. And today I wanted to bring this last briefing based on an article that I read from a favorite author of mine, Tony Reinke. Reinke wrote a book a couple years ago about how our cell phones are transforming us and changing our lives. And he recently wrote an article entitled, "You Become Like What You Like." He started by telling the story of Narcissus. Narcissus was a good-looking guy, but he was also very arrogant and he was incapable of receiving love or giving love to anyone. For his frigid affection, the goddess Nemesis cursed him in the most hopeless way, making him fall in love with the image of himself that he projected to himself. Day after day, he bent over and caught his reflection in the glassy surface of the water. Longing for the image he saw so much, one day he noticed that reflection deep at the bottom of a well. He jumped in and he drowned. Narcissus, sorry to say, has another example in our world, and that's most of us. The first thing that happens when we stare down at our phone or our tablet is that we often see a reflection of our own image. And even if we don't see our own image, we see things on our screens that we like. We put things on the screen that we like, that cause us happiness. Social media is all about making sure that we like what we see on our screens. Reinke knows very well, as a human being living in 2022, that what we consume, what we take in, transforms us. As we think of what we are going through today, Reinke's also concerned that we may be guilty of digital narcissism. That's constantly being bent over, constantly making sure that we are dealing with things that we like and only with things that we like. We know that the things that we like often become things that identify us. They seep over into our life and they impact us in ways that we are not aware of. Pastor Tim Keller, many years ago as a pastor in New York City, bluntly told his congregation that they were a part of the New York City community and its various little communities, and that this was a part of their identity, and it mattered greatly to them who they identified with. Reinke went and talked to a scholar by the name of Richard Lentz, who has done a lot of work dealing with idolatry in the modern era. And Lentz had this to say about human beings. He said, "We are mirrors." And so the whole metaphor of the human being reflecting its environment, reflecting its context, reflecting its idols, reflecting its gods, is absolutely core from the beginning to the end of Scripture. What we call worship, worshiping God faithfully and truly, is also a matter of our identity. That is what we are created for. That is who we are. Whether we see it or not, what we worship is what we are becoming. When we are worshiping things on our phones and on our tablets and on our computers that we like, we become like these things. As Reinke's title declares, you become like what you like. What does the Bible say about this? Well, Paul, writing to the Corinthians in his second letter, said, "In their case, the God of this world has blinded their minds. He's blinded the eyes of unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. The Bible makes it clear we either worship created idols or we worship the Creator. These are our only options. There is no middle ground. We worship one or the other. And if we worship Christ, we are becoming like Christ. Opposite of the idols that are often a part of our lives, when Christ becomes the true object of our worship, we become more like Him. As human beings, we were made in the image of God, and we were made to image God in the world. It means their identity, who we are, is by definition moldable. And if it's moldable, that means it's susceptible to other forces. As we think about the year ahead and as we think about these devices that so oftentimes are a part of our lives, let's make sure that we are becoming like what we truly like. And may we truly love the God of the universe and all that He has done for us in Jesus Christ. True image bearing frees us to be honest about ourselves. We can pray for grace to avoid being like narcissists, to avoid falling in love with the image of ourselves. And we can pray for grace and courage to be more honest in looking at all that we are digitally putting in front of our eyes. I think of Paul's words to the Romans in chapter 12. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. As we look ahead to 2023, may we remember narcissists. May we turn away from narcissists. May we understand that what we put in front of our eyes constantly is what we are becoming. May we put Christ in front of us. And may we worship God alone in 2023.